You can really tell that a Nintendo Direct is right around the corner because the leaks are coming like a flood at this point. We've got so much to talk about as a Pokemon spin-off is in the works. We've got tons more horror and the next Final Fantasy. So what's going on, everybody? It's Akram Switchforce. I'm anticipating the Direct is announced tomorrow, given a 48-hour notice for Friday's show that I've been telling y'all about for weeks. And when this happens, what are all the haters going to say? What are all the naysayers going to say? I know what we say, which is hashtag trust Switchforce. I'm going to prove myself right yet again, and we're going to have a glorious show. But there's a lot to dive into here, so let's get started. Let me know in the comments down below what you're most excited for. I think I want to kick it off with this Pokemon one because this is the most new, brand spanking, interesting information that I have heard yet about this Direct. And this comes from Riddler Khu and backed up by Necrolipe, saying that a Pokemon spin-off game is going to be shown at this Direct, which is pretty bananas. Now, Riddler Khu had said that something not Legend ZA related would be revealed in September, and now NecroliPe is saying, hey, there's a new spin-off game that will show up in the Direct later this week. Now, that's bananas to me because as of right now, we've had zero on the horizon about Pokemon except for Legend ZA. Obviously, Nintendo has been marketing the heck out of that this year. That game is out in a little bit of time, like what, 7 weeks, 6 weeks? Real close when you think about it. So the fact that they would have another Pokemon title is very interesting. Now, no secret or hint or tease as to what this game could be. We've got a lot of Pokemon spin-off options, including something brand new, but then there's, Pokemon Stadium, Coliseum, Rangers, Mystery Dungeon, Pokken Tournament. I am Team Pokken Tournament. I think that if Smash Brothers is going to be a ways off, given that Sakurai is currently head down in the world of Kirby, then a Pokken Tournament game, Pokken Tournament 2, could actually be a really nice fighter filler while we wait for the big guns. Now, I think Pokken Tournament is a very underrated game, and I think the Switch 1 port was actually pretty darn cool, bringing in the DLC and whatnot. I would be super geeked about this. I would buy this day one and be much more excited than if it was a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon or a Pokemon Stadium or a Hey You Pikachu or a Pokemon Troise or something of that sort. But there's like such a long list of Pokemon spin-offs. This literally could be anything. I don't even want to... Well, I'll guess that it's Pokken Tournament. I don't know, I'll tell you that. But I'll guess that it's Pokken Tournament. And I would be just really, really pleased at that. But this could easily be... This could be another cafe game. This could be Pokemon Airport where you have to direct the Poke Flights to the different regions. I don't know. It could be something very simple and stupid, or it could be something very great, or it could be more niche in one of these franchises, handheld franchise that hasn't been revisited in a little bit here. But hopefully it just builds up this Direct to be even bigger, given that Pokemon, that's always a cool thing to see. Hopefully it's a fun game, and maybe it's something brand new. I mean, Splatoon Raiders is a brand new type of Splatoon game. What's to say that they can't do a brand new Pokemon spinoff? They brought new Pokemon Snap back on the Switch 1, and that was awesome. Could they invent something new? We'll have to wait and see, but Pokemon at this Direct, it's just even more smoke and fire to what's already poised to be a great show. And like I talked about yesterday, remember, big old Mario, he's got his 40th this week, so what are they going to bring from the Mario standpoint? Well, they're going to be scaring Mario away, it seems, with a ton of Resident Evil, because DuskGolem, a very notorious Resident Evil leaker and just notorious figure, comes in and says that all Resident Evil games running on the RE engine will come to Switch 2, including Requiem, and they will be native ports, not running on cloud. Now, this has been a snowballing leak throughout the week. All right, we had me talking about 777s. We had Nash Weedle coming out and just saying yesterday that Resident Evil 7 is coming to Switch 2. DuskGolem has previously said that Resident Evil 9 Requiem is going to be on Switch 2, and now he's saying that all the RE games running on the RE engine will come. So that means the 2 remakes, that means 7 and 8, and that means Requiem. And we do know that there's a Nash Weedle tweet that I talked about yesterday where he said they're all coming. And it seemed like that could be tied to his podcast where he did reveal and leak that Resident Evil 7 was coming to Switch 2. Now, you want to know my take on this? I think you got to be ready for a zombie invasion on this system, and I think it's going to be a pretty fun time given that we haven't had real access to these games because the cloud, in my opinion, doesn't really count. Now, there's a lot of talk about, hey, bringing third-party ports to the system, are they going to run well? And Hopefully these run super well. I think if 7 and 8 can run really nice on the system, as they should, remember both those games dropped on the PS4, so they should work really great. That's a great test bed for them to get prepared for Resident Evil 9 in 2026. If they can day and date that thing and learn the Switch 2 system, surely Capcom has had plenty of time with the dev kits, and they can make this game run really good. And in my opinion, like the biggest win out of getting all the Resident Evils on Switch 2 is getting ready for Resident Evil 9 on Switch 2 and preparing that port to be excellent. The performance to be great, the graphics to be really nice, the resolution to be crispy, and it to run well handheld and docked. Obviously, it's great to get these games, and for people that missed out on them or want to double dip, like 7 and 8 are some of the best single-player games of the modern era. Like, I truly don't know if a better single-player linear story-based game has come out since Resident Evil 8. And I'm not talking about like an RPG or like a visual novel. I'm talking like an action game. For a single-player action game like Resident Evil 8 is just freaking fantastic. And 7 is probably even scarier and great. I think I like 8 more. 7 also very good. These are like must-play experiences if you can stomach the horror. They're pretty freaky, but I forced myself to get through them, and it was well worth it. 8 in particular, I think, is just... It's a stellar adventure. It harkens back to like the great games of the 360 era, but done so in a more modern way. So if these do all come, which I believe that they will, then this is a great get and a big, nice chunk of third-party action on the Switch 2 and getting announced later this week, which is pretty freaking sweet. But it doesn't stop there, because as we know, Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate is coming on to Switch 2, hopefully soon. We don't have a date for that yet, but we've seen a demo running really great at Gamescom. We know that Nintendo has actively been talking about this game since the Switch 2 launch, and hopefully they're ready to give us a release date at the coming Direct. But NateTheHate is coming in with a new clutch leak saying that Rebirth, the second Final Fantasy VII game, the second in the trilogy, the one that released on PlayStation 5 already, is coming to Switch 2 and Xbox in 2026. So you'll get your answer as to how it runs on Switch 2 next year. With some well-utilized DLSS, Square Enix can deliver Rebirth on Switch 2, and this is pretty darn dope, because Remake Integrate, yeah, that's going to be really exciting, but that game is 5 years old at this point, so like, yes, it should absolutely work on Switch 2. Rebirth is a far newer title that is pushing things much more in terms of the graphics and the tech, and so getting that on Switch 2, as Nate mentions with DLSS, will be pretty sweet and another nice barometer for like how well can the Switch 2 do. And based on what we've seen lately with Chronos and with Star Wars Outlaws, I'm feeling really good about the chance of success for these third-party games. 2026 bringing us games that came out recently like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and day-and-date titles like Resident Evil 9 Requiem, and hopefully many more games that are day-and-date and many more games from huge franchises that previously didn't have much of a home on Nintendo Switch or Nintendo platforms in general lately. This is huge. This is bringing the whole gaming cabal to Nintendo, while they also have Mario, Zelda, Splatoon, Smash Bros, Kirby, and more. Doesn't get any more complete than that, and no system can say that they have eventually, Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, Star Wars, Final Fantasy, Elden Ring, and Mario, because ain't nobody ever getting the last one. Plenty of systems have had these third-party titles for years now, and Nintendo's been missing out, but their Switch has been insanely successful because of their first-party exclusives, and now bringing it all together is why I've said from the beginning that I think the Switch 2 has a chance to go down as the stronger, better system than the Switch 1. Not because it's more novel, not because it has some wow factor, but because it's going to be an absolute insane place to play just about everything. I mean, you can play Borderlands 4 and Donkey Kong Bonanza. You can play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and you can play Resident Evil 9. Oh, but you can also play Metroid Prime 4. And Metroid Prime 4 was recently rated in Brazil, and it's been rated in other countries as well, meaning a release date has to be right around the corner. I've seen some people throw out the idea of a shadow drop. That just is not going to happen. This game is going to be a fall/holiday title for Nintendo, and I do fully expect a release date at this week's Direct, but I don't expect there to be a shadow drop of Metroid Prime 4. Now, are they going to bring 2 and 3 to the Switch eShop in some capacity? That is a totally different discussion and something that could happen in terms of a shadow drop, but you're not getting Metroid Prime 4 as a shadow drop, so let's not get too carried away with that. But it is nice to know that so many games are really ramping up, and it's from the third-party standpoint. I mean, the Pokemon title is more in line with a first-party release if that spinoff ends up being a reality. But what's really great here about this Direct is we're hearing a lot about third-party titles. We're hearing a lot about different things that could be happening, and we have an idea of Pokemon, an idea of Metroid Prime release date, an idea of Mario given the 40th anniversary. But in terms of the biggest surprise from Nintendo, I think nobody has tapped into that yet. They're insanely secretive when it comes to their big closers and their big openers. We'll have to wait and see what they are. If you wanted me to guess what the opener or closer is this time, I'd say it's got to be the new 3D Mario. I feel like that is going to be Nintendo's calling card for the next 6 months. Once they get Metroid Prime 4 out the door, it's like, what do they emphasize most as the reason to buy the Switch 2? A system seller. They have Mario Kart, they have DK, Metroid Prime 4, system seller for some. But a 3D Mario on the horizon is like, dude, we need this system because when that comes out, we absolutely have to play it. And so I do expect Nintendo's marketing to shift in a very Mario direction, not just because of the 40th anniversary that is right around the corner, but also because it's the next way for them to promote the Switch 2 as a must-buy system and as a must-buy system on top of maybe your already existing Switch 1. They need ways to incentivize people to go from Switch 1 to Switch 2 because Metroid Prime 4 is on both. Pokemon Legends ZA is on both. You know, there's other titles like Kirby Air Riders and Hyrule Warriors, but I don't know that those are absolute system sellers, maybe for a few, but not for the majority, and therefore Nintendo needs to emphasize and look ahead and tentpole, highlight, spotlight, what is our next must-buy game, what is our next system seller, what's going to make you need a Switch 2, and a 3D Mario that's exclusive to Switch 2 as it will be pretty darn sweet. But what do you guys think about a whole catalog of Resident Evil coming to Switch 2, Rebirth in 2026, right on the tails of Remake coming hopefully in the very near future? And then how do you feel about this Pokemon spinoff, and what do you predict it could be? We're very, very close to the big General Direct we've all been waiting for. I'll see y'all hopefully tomorrow for that announcement video where we get to officially confirm all this, and you know, big sigh of relief for me and all the people that doubted that I know what I'm talking about and that think I'm just some crazy clickbait YouTuber that's trying to get clout. I'm not. I'm just trying to fill you in with actual real information because other people are out there trying to make stuff up for whatever reason. I want to give you the real details so that you can actually get excited for a good reason and not for a fabricated or unlikely one. So let's get pumped. Absolutely happening very soon now. In the meantime, thanks so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Love y'all lots. Switch Force out.